Hey everybody, we're back again with Big Truths for Little Kids. I hope you've all had a good break and look forward to continuing on in our stories here. So, today we just have one question and answer from the Catechism to help us reflect on what the story's purpose is for us in terms of learning. And that question is, how can God justify you? The answer would be, by forgiving all my sins and declaring me to be righteous. So here we are with chapter 13, titled Mimi's Bell. Cassie was going to spend a night with her grandmother. It was always fun at Mimi's house, and this time it would be doubly fun because her friend Mary Kate was going with her. Mimi promised that they could dress up in some of her old clothes and they would have a fancy tea party. When Cassie and Mary Kate arrived, Mimi took them to the wonderful room where they could sleep in a big four-poster bed. On the bed there were some hats, gloves, fancy dresses, ribbons, and pretty scarves. "Now, girls," said Mimi, "get dressed up, and when you hear me ring my little china bell, come to the dining room for tea." Cassie and Mary Kate giggled as they each put on one of Mimi's old dresses. They draped scarves and ribbons around themselves. They each selected a hat and laughed out loud as the feathers on the hats tickled their faces. When they heard the tinkling of the bell, each slipped her hands into a pair of Mimi's white gloves. They were quite a sight when they strolled into the dining room. And here's the picture that they have. See if I can get it up where you can see it. "Oh, how beautiful!" exclaimed Mary Kate as she looked at the silver teapot and the little china cups. When the girls were seated, Cassie's grandmother carefully put the little bell in the china cabinet, poured pink lemonade into their cups, and served dainty sandwiches and a cake. Cassie looked at the beautiful little bell and said, "Mimi, tell us a story about your bell." Mimi smiled. "This bell belonged to my mother. Her daddy gave it to her for her 10th birthday. When I was a little girl, she always rang the bell when it was time for a meal. I loved the sound. And when I got married, she gave it to me. My mother was a very special lady who prayed for me and taught me about Jesus. This bell brings back sweet memories of her." After a delightful tea party, Cassie and Mary Kate paraded around the house in their finery and then put their jeans back on and went outside to play. That night, Mimi read stories to the girls, and they all knelt beside the big bed and prayed, and Mimi kissed them goodnight. Cassie and Mary Kate woke up the next morning. "Let's go to the kitchen and get some milk," suggested Cassie. When they passed the dining room, Cassie whispered, "Let's look at the pretty things in Mimi's china cabinet." Then Cassie did something she never should have done. She opened the china cabinet and picked up the little china bell. But somehow it slipped through her fingers and dropped to the floor. It broke into several pieces. Cassie and Mary Kate were horrified. "Oh no," sobbed Cassie. "I knew the rule about opening Mimi's china cabinet. I broke the rule, and now look what happened. What can I do? How can I tell Mimi? She's going to hate me." Cassie put her face in her hands and wept while Mary Kate watched in dismay. Then the girls heard Mimi's gentle voice. "Oh, Cassie, I could never hate you. I love you." Cassie ran into Mimi's open arms. "I'm sorry, Mimi. I'm so sorry. What can I do to pay you back?" Mimi held Cassie close as she said, "Cassie, you can't pay me back, but I forgive you anyway. And I want to do more than forgive you. I want to give you a gift." Mimi went to the china cabinet, reached to the top shelf, and picked up a beautiful glass bell. "This is the bell my mother gave me for my 16th birthday. It is a very expensive crystal bell. I want you to have it. We can keep it here on this shelf until you're older, but I want you to know that it is yours. Do you mean you forgive me for breaking your bell and you give me a gift of another bell? Why would you do that, Mimi? Asked Cassie. Because I want you girls to remember something very important, replied Mimi. We all break God's commandments, but He forgives us. He also gives us a very expensive gift. He gives us the righteousness of Jesus. I hope this little bell will be a reminder to you of God's amazing grace. I hope it's a reminder to all of you as well, and is an opportunity for you to discuss what a gift we have in our assurance of salvation that we find in Jesus Christ. I'd like to read a verse from 2 Corinthians. This is 2 Corinthians 5, verse 21, and maybe you can reflect on this throughout your day as well as help it guide you in prayer. So 2 Corinthians 5, verse 21. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.